Before you turn off the video, let me tell you something that happened to me not too long ago. I remember standing in my kitchen, staring at a pile of papers on the counter that just never seemed to go away. Bills mixed with coupons, recipes I swore I'd try, and letters I felt guilty about ignoring. It made me feel like I was drowning in my own home, and I'd catch myself avoiding the space altogether. That's when I realized it wasn't the big, obvious mess making me stressed. It was the quiet, invisible clutter sneaking into every corner. And trust me, once I learned how to deal with it, my whole home started to feel lighter. That's exactly what I want to share with you today, because I know these little shifts can make a huge difference for you too. And stick with me, because the last thing I'll mention is the one that finally flipped the switch for me. Now here's the tricky part. Most of the clutter that drains us isn't the kind you notice right away. It's sneaky. It builds up so slowly you stop seeing it, until one day, your home feels smaller and heavier and you can't even explain why. You know that sense of walking into a room and just feeling crowded even when nothing seems messy? That's invisible clutter, and honestly, once you learn how to spot it, you can't unsee it. By the way, before we dive in, I'd love to know, where are you watching from? I always love knowing because it makes me picture us sitting down together with a cup of tea and comparing notes on which drawer drives us the craziest. Let's start with the one that used to haunt me the most: paperwork. Oh, the piles of it. You think you're just setting down one letter or one receipt, but before you know it, there's a tower taking over your dining table. What worked for me was giving those papers one single home, a drawer with a folder. Everything goes there, and once a month I do a quick sort. Bills are digital now, so that already cuts the mountain in half. And here's the part most people miss. Leaving papers out makes a room feel like a to-do list is staring you down. Clearing them isn't just about tidiness, it's about shutting down that constant reminder that you're behind. Another sneaky culprit? Gifts you don't really use but feel guilty about getting rid of. Oh, I had a vase once, bright orange, shaped like a pineapple. It lived in my closet for 5 years because I thought tossing it would somehow insult the friend who gave it to me. But here's the thing, keeping something you never use doesn't honor the person who gave it. Passing it along, re-gifting, or donating it lets it actually bring joy to someone else. The space you free up is a gift to yourself too. And honestly, after I let it go, I never once missed that pineapple vase. Not once. And let's not forget expired medications. We all have that cabinet with bottles shoved in the back from who knows when. It's not just taking up space, it can actually be dangerous. I remember finding a cough syrup so old, the label had changed designs twice since I bought it. These days, I just do a sweep every few months, take anything expired to the pharmacy, and suddenly that cabinet feels twice as big. It takes 5 minutes and saves you from rummaging when you're not feeling well. What I love about tackling these invisible clutter spots is how immediate the relief feels. You clear one surface, one cabinet, and the whole room breathes easier. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I've got at least 3 of these clutter zones in my house, you're in good company. I did too. That's why I want you to stay with me, because as we move along, the clutter we're going to talk about gets more obvious, more relatable, and the fixes are surprisingly simple. And hey, if this kind of homemaking advice makes your life feel a little lighter, you might want to hit that subscribe button, because I share tips like these all the time. The clutter that stares you in the face every single day is the kind that wears you down without you even realizing it. I'm talking about the stuff you can see from across the room, the things you probably don't notice anymore because they've blended into the background. But trust me, once you tweak even one of these, you'll start walking into your home and feeling an instant difference. And wait until you hear the one change that made my living room feel like I had doubled its size. It's coming up soon. Take decor, for example. Now, I love a cozy home as much as the next person, but some of the pieces we've had for years are actually dragging the space down. Heavy drapes that block light, rugs that scream 1980s, or dusty fake plants that haven't been moved in ages. I had one fake ficus tree that collected so much dust, it could probably have passed as a new species. The day I swapped it out for one simple real plant in a white pot, the whole room lifted. It wasn't just about looks. It was about breathing life back into the space. And here's the part most people miss. Updating just one thing, a lighter curtain, a fresh pillow cover, can make the rest of the room feel brand new. Now let's get to the infamous junk drawer. We all have one, don't we? Mine had everything from batteries that didn't work to a key I swear belonged to a door we no longer owned. It's the drawer you open when you need scissors, only to find 5 pens that don't write, a candle lighter, and about 14 rubber bands. Here's what saved me: tackling just one drawer at a time with 3 little piles: keep, toss, donate. And after it was sorted, I used tiny trays to keep things in their lanes. That way, when I open it now, I can actually find the tape without digging like I'm on an archaeological expedition. And then there's the technology graveyard. You know what I mean? That tangled mess of old chargers, mystery cables, maybe even a flip phone you swore you'd use as a backup. I once found a charger in my drawer that didn't match a single device I owned. Why was I holding on to it? Out it went. A lot of towns have e-waste centers that recycle these things responsibly. And honestly, the relief of not having a drawer full of maybe this goes to something is worth the 5-minute drop-off. Plus, you're doing the environment a favor. Here's something funny. Getting rid of visible clutter often feels harder than it actually is, because we think we need to overhaul an entire room at once. But the truth is, even a 10-minute project makes a world of difference. Imagine opening that drawer tomorrow and actually finding what you need on the first try, or pulling open your curtains and suddenly realizing how much more light your home has been missing. These small wins add up faster than you think, and since we're chatting like friends here, I'm curious. Do you already do this kind of quick-fire decluttering, or is this new to you? I ask, because once I started tackling these little projects, it snowballed into bigger changes. One drawer turned into one cabinet turned into one corner of the living room, and before I knew it, my home felt lighter without me ever doing a marathon clean-out. Now don't scroll away just yet, because the next type of clutter isn't about what you see with your eyes, it's about what you feel in your heart. And trust me, letting go of those things is both the hardest and the most freeing step. But before we head there, let me just say, if this video is giving you that yes, I needed to hear this moment, go ahead and hit that subscribe. It's the easiest way to keep getting these homemaking tips that actually make life simpler. The hardest clutter to deal with isn't the kind sitting on your counter or stuffed in a drawer. It's the kind that tugs at your heartstrings. Emotional clutter sneaks in quietly, and before you know it, your home is packed with things you can't bring yourself to let go of. But here's the part most people don't realize. Holding on to too much sentimental stuff actually hides the memories you really treasure. Once you pare it down, those few special items shine brighter than ever. Let me give you an example. I used to have boxes and boxes of old photos. Some were duplicates, some were blurry, and half of them were people I couldn't even identify anymore. And yet, I kept them all. One day, I finally decided to digitize them, and it changed everything. I scanned them into albums on my computer, made a scrapbook of my absolute favorites, and donated the rest to family who wanted them. Suddenly, my shelves weren't crammed, and when I looked at the scrapbook on my coffee table, I actually enjoyed flipping through it instead of dreading the overwhelming pile. That's when I realized it's not about throwing memories away, it's about making them easier to enjoy. The same goes for clothing. Oh, closets are sneaky culprits. I used to open mine and think, I have nothing to wear, while staring at rows of shirts I hadn't touched in years. The truth was, the things I actually wore were crammed between pieces that no longer fit or weren't my style anymore. I gave myself one simple rule. If I hadn't worn it in a year, it went in the donation pile. I kept a couple of sentimental pieces, like my favorite old sweater, but the rest went to someone who could actually use them. And let me tell you, the feeling of sliding hangers along a closet where everything fits and everything works with my life today? That's priceless. And then there's the clutter from hobbies we've long moved on from. At one point, I had bins of scrapbooking supplies stacked in the garage, glitter, scissors with funny edges, stickers for days. But here's the thing, I hadn't touched them in years. Every time I looked at those bins, instead of joy, I felt guilt, like I was letting a project down. That's when I realized those supplies could make a teacher or a craft group far happier than they made me. I donated them, and in doing so, gave myself permission to move on. That was a weight I didn't know I was carrying. Now let's talk about the everyday sneaky stuff, because while emotional clutter weighs heavy, the small daily annoyances can drive you crazy too. For example, plastic containers. You know the cabinet? You open it, and a stack of lids comes crashing down on your head. I went through mine and matched every container with a lid. If it didn't match, out it went. I kept just a handful, and suddenly that cabinet became one of the easiest places in my kitchen. No more 20-minute lid hunt when all I want is to put away leftovers. And then, the duplicates. Somehow I had 4 spatulas, 6 pairs of scissors, and more pens than a bank lobby. Why? Who knows? But keeping the best 1 or 2 and letting go of the extras instantly freed up drawers. And here's a secret. You don't miss them. You don't think, oh no, where's my 7th spatula? You just breathe easier every time you open the drawer. Here's the part that always makes people laugh. Your pantry. Hidden in the back are things you didn't even know you still owned. I found a spice jar that was older than my youngest nephew, and we've all done it. Buying a new jar of cinnamon because we can't find the old one, only to discover 3 open ones hiding in the back. Doing a yearly pantry sweep is like pressing reset. You toss the old, group the new, and suddenly cooking feels simpler because you can actually see what you own. By this point, you might be feeling a little lighter just imagining these spots cleared out. And that's the beauty of it. Emotional clutter, sneaky clutter, they all chip away at your peace. But here's the twist. When you finally let go, you don't feel loss. You feel relief. That's why in the next part, we're going even bigger. Because the clutter I'm about to talk about, it's the kind that can completely transform the way your home feels, sometimes in just one weekend. The biggest changes in your home don't come from sorting a drawer or clearing a cabinet. They come from tackling the clutter that takes up the most space, physically and visually. And the truth is, these are the ones that can make your home feel like you've remodeled without ever picking up a hammer. Stick with me here, because the last one I'll share is what finally gave me back an entire room I thought I'd lost forever. Let's start with furniture. I had this oversized recliner that felt like it was holding the living room hostage. It had been there forever, and I kept it out of habit, even though nobody sat in it anymore. The day I donated it, I couldn't believe how open the room felt. Suddenly I could walk through without weaving like I was in an obstacle course. And here's the part most people don't think about. Bulky furniture doesn't just take up floor space, it takes up mental space too. Switching to pieces with built-in storage, like an ottoman with a hidden compartment, gives you function and freedom at the same time. Then there are collections. Oh, I know, they start out small and sweet. A few figurines, a shelf of teacups, some souvenirs from travels. But over time, they multiply until your shelves are so crowded that none of the pieces actually stand out. I had a set of decorative plates that covered almost every inch of one wall. When I finally chose my 6 favorites and let the rest go, not only did my wall breathe again, but those 6 plates became conversation pieces instead of background noise. Curating instead of cramming makes what you keep feel more special. And here's a sneaky one, your hidden spaces. The basement, the garage, the attic. Out of sight, out of mind, right? Except every time you need something from those areas, you're faced with piles and boxes that feel impossible to tackle. I used to open my garage, see the mountain of someday projects, and close it right back up. The trick that worked for me was breaking it down into tiny zones. 1 shelf today, 1 box tomorrow. It's amazing how a half hour here and there adds up to a space you can actually use again. Before I knew it, my garage was clear enough to finally park my car inside, something I hadn't done in years. And don't overlook the to-fix pile. Broken lamps, appliances waiting for parts, chairs with wobbly legs. I gave myself a 30-day rule. If I hadn't fixed it by then, it left my house. Letting go of those someday fixes felt like lifting a weight. Because here's the thing, every broken item is a silent reminder of something unfinished. Clearing them makes your home feel more whole. Now here's the one that truly changed everything for me, applying the 1 in, 1 out rule. Every time something new came into my home, something old had to leave. Bought a new sweater? Out went an old one. Found a new mug I loved? Donated one from the back of the cupboard. It sounds simple, but it keeps clutter from ever sneaking back in. Pair that with quick 15-minute declutter sprints, and suddenly keeping a tidy home doesn't feel like a chore. It feels automatic. The real secret is this. Decluttering isn't about living with less. It's about living with what matters. When you clear the excess, the things you keep have more room to shine. Your home feels peaceful, functional, and like the sanctuary it's supposed to be. And if you've been nodding along through this video, maybe even picturing which drawer or shelf you'll tackle first, then you already know this works. It worked for me, and I promise it can work for you too. So take a breath, pick one spot, and start small. Your future self will thank you every time you walk into a room that feels lighter, calmer, and more like home.